A new bipartisan group of lawmakers now introducing hard-hitting sanctions against Russia. Senator Lindsey Graham saying that the current measures have failed to deter Russia from meddling in the upcoming 2018 elections. Joining me now is Washington Post columnist David Ignatius, an MSNBC political contributor, and John Kelly, the CEO and co-founder of Graphika? Graphika, sorry. A social media analysis company. I should have asked you before. Graphika, thank you very much. The other John Kelly, or you're the real John Kelly. Someone is the real John Kelly. You were testifying yesterday, and we were all watching as you made it very clear that what you're seeing in the social media space is from Russia, because there's been so much quibbling from the White House and from the first national security meeting last Friday, less than an hour, that was devoted to this, and the statement afterwards did not even acknowledge that Russia was the main actor here. But Dan Coates has acknowledged that.
Yes, well, it's clearly Russia. There's a lot of data from the Internet Research Agency that's making its way into the public, and a lot of folks are looking at it, including us, and I'd say it's pretty incontrovertible proof. And
what are you seeing that has all the fingerprints of Fancy Bear or whatever?
Well, it's not Fancy Bear. This is the Internet Research Agency. So Fancy Bear is more of a kind of military intelligence-oriented part of the government. This is more of a contract shop that, from what we're learning, was actually set up originally and for many years was conditioning the Russian public, and most of their output was actually Russian language output for domestic consumption. And then at some point they got the contract to boot up their American influence operations.
And so, David Ignatius, you've been following this obviously from all of your work. They are now, as they contract out, spewing this propaganda, and basically they're infecting our political dialogue to exacerbate pre-existing tensions, to get on the side of Black Lives Matter during 2016 or on the other side, and to actually get people to come to rallies and to bring helmets, to bring placards, making it much more argumentative before the elections.
If you look at the Russian strategy as it was outlined in the Mueller indictment that named the Internet Research Agency, its personnel, and produced a lot of evidence of the specific Facebook ads they'd placed, messages they were putting out on social media. It's playing both sides of the polarized situation in America. You just can see transparently what the Russian strategy is, that they'll hit pro-KKK right-wing activities, support it. They'll support Black Lives Matters activists. They just want to churn anger and division in the country, and there's every evidence, as your guest has said, that this effort by Russia is continuing.
And David, you were in Aspen, and among all of us listening to Homeland Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, she seemed to be going out of her way not to blame Russia.
She did seem to be going out of her way. That was in the immediate post-Helsinki, I want to say, confusion. Nobody quite knew which way things were going. Your interview with Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates was a breath of fresh air in that. I've sensed, Andrea, in the last week, an effort to kind of steady the ship, to reverse some of the positions the president seemed to have taken, or at least discussed, with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki. I've noted a more assertive posture from Secretary Mattis, a more assertive posture from Secretary Pompeo at the State Department. I think they're pushing back to try to get policy within what we think of as normal, vigilant parameters.
John Kelly, what needs to be done, and will it happen if the president doesn't show direct leadership?
Well, I'm a network analyst, and I work on the data side of these kinds of problems. So I think there are really two key components to defending the country from this. The first is a technical component, which is how do you get access to the data and just run the math, the computation, the algorithms, the way to detect these things before they happen or when they just start to happen. And the second piece is more political, which means that if you can definitively attribute these actions to a foreign government, you have to have the normal kind of carrots and sticks of the foreign policy environment kind of take up and deal with that.
And the bottom line is Facebook, in whatever they turned over to the Senate committees and before this hearing, are they being proactive enough? Are these
I think what
IT companies
Facebook
now finally stepping
Sorry.
up?
I think what Facebook did the other day is actually essential. This kind of proactive transparency to when you discover something, go out there and tell the public. That is absolutely essential to people understanding that the problem is real and that the platforms are taking some, measures to deal with it. So I would say they showed leadership in that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your expertise. And David Ignatius, as always, thank you.